Hey everybody, welcome to the Automation Show. This is a second looks edition of the Automation Show, and I'm going to talk about Rockwell generations. All right, so Rockwell Automation and generations of their PACs and HMIs or panel views, to be precise. And first of all, I checked all my audio settings out when we first got on, but please let me know if everything. Let me know in the chat if everything's looking good. I noticed that the system keeps trying to lower my volume, which I don't appreciate it doing that. But in any case, I hope you all are having a great afternoon. I was hoping to do this at lunchtime, but setting up all the cameras and changing things around to deal with some software limitations had me delayed me. But we're here now. So what I'm going to talk about today specifically is generations of Rockwell PACs and HMIs, specifically panel views. The reason is a very dear friend of mine, probably one of my best friends in the whole world, he has a different view on this. So I figured I would share with my audience my views and then let you guys decide what you think. Am I right? Is somebody else right? Do you have your own interpretation? And so I thought this would be fun. So let me go back over to this look here. And that should shrink me down. Good, good. And now let's take a look at, I got a notepad up here. Let's go ahead and open this up. And let's talk about generations of Rockwell's control logic. So we'll just start with that. Okay, logics. All right, so how many generations are there? Are there 3, 5, 7? Well, let me share with you what I think, and then you guys can make up your own decision, right? So we'll start off with the first generation. These are things I cover in my courses. So if you ever want to know more details about any of this, check out the automationschool.com, the Control Logics PAC Basics course. Even the level 1 course, it's $99. You own it for life. I cover all of this. So in any case, let's start with the first Control Logics controller to come out back in the very, very late 90s. At the very end, matter of fact, the chassis and the network cards came out first. They were called bridging cards. I actually had some customers pick them up and install them, went out and help them set it up. And it was great because they're bridging. You can bridge from Ethernet to DeviceNet to ControlNet to Data Highway Plus. Just great. So in any case, the first one was what we call the 5550, also affectionately known as the L1. And so that would be generation number 1. All right, so what's generation number 2? I'm thinking like generations. I think this isn't wording Rockwell uses, right? This is wording we use. It's pretty common in the electronics, computers, computing, microprocessing world, right? So Arduinos, which we just released a course on for $9.99. You have the R3, you have the R4, release 3, release 4, so on. And then if you look at Intel, right? i7, I thought I was doing great when I got my i7 generation 6, 6700, and then I got a 7700, and then I got a, I don't even know what gen I'm on now. I'm not at the latest 13, 14, not even close, but in any case. So what was after that? So it was the 5555. And we know that affectionately as the L55, right? And so what came after that? Well, that was the 5560. Okay. So the 5560, actually, there were 2 flavors of this. So we'll say the L6X, because there's a Series A and Series B. So you had like the 5561, 62, 63, 64, 65. You had, I believe we even had safeties versions of these and so on. But there was a big difference between Series A and Series B. The door opens differently depending what version you have. And one had the battery problem because these things, those batteries are designed for the L1, right? And really shared a lot in similarity with the old SLC 500 batteries, right? And yeah, when they got up to the L6X, man, we had so much more memory that those batteries, they wouldn't last a month, right? So we used to get the call all the time, hey, my machine just shipped in from Europe or from Asia or from the West Coast, and the battery's dead and the program's gone. So yeah, good times, right? So that was the Series A. Not so much a problem with these other 2 generations, and I go into that in gory detail in my course. I won't recover that here. But then the Series B resolved that because the battery was only used, kind of like the MicroLogix 1000, it was only used to transfer the program to the internal memory, to an internal memory chip that was right on the board. I'm not talking about a compact flash or an SD. But in any case, yeah, so, but I still consider that one series, I don't know. It's a circuit board change for sure, but in any case, so I'm going to consider this Gen 1 because it is substantially different in design than the L55 Gen 2. And then I'm going to consider the L6 Gen 3, just because, it's quite different. It's quite different, has a lot more capabilities than the previous generations. The circuit boards are substantially different. I know the A and B have different circuit boards, but not as dramatic a redesign as the L1, L55, and L6, right? So, the L6 supporting compact flash, the L1, the L55, you can buy it with non-volatile memory. The L1 had non-volatile memory built in. Again, I'm going back to 1998, 99 to try to remember some of this stuff on the fly. But this is what I think are the first three generations. And I think there's enough difference in them, just like, maybe a 13th gen, i7 versus a 12th gen i7 and so on. So that's my thoughts there. So what would be the next generation? Well, generation 4, I got to say the 5570, right? Big difference there in design. We've taken a look at those many a times on the show. And then, of course, generation 5, in my opinion, would be the 5580. And maybe there's another one in the works. I don't know. We don't have a 5580 here. That's still very expensive on the used market. We're unable to acquire a sample. So, yeah. But in any case, we have all of these. And we have safety versions, I believe, of the 6 and 7. Matter of fact, I'd like to pick up a non-safety version of the 7 at some point. But do you agree with this, or do you think this is wrong? Let's leave control logics and go over to compact logics, okay? And this keyboard, I don't like it. That's why it's here. It has all these extra keys. It's a gaming keyboard, and I always hit the wrong key. Anyways, so first gen. Now, a lot of people have never even seen a first gen compact logics, and they're probably really happy they didn't, because I'll tell you what, the headaches when it first came out. It only had serial ports, right? And really, really slow to download. So we had two in that family, 5320 and a 5330. In my compact logics course, I go over this. I show you the actual unit. We look at the ports and the buttons, the little reset buttons on them do different things depending on what you have. But these are affectionately known as the, L20 and L30. And again, a lot of people never even used compact logics when these came out. They use the same 1769 IO. They just were limited to serial port onlys. These were, I think, if you think back to the L1, these were similar. They had built-in non-volatile, just built right in, which is cool because you didn't need a memory card. Of course, thinking about what they look like, there was no slot for a memory card, so it was kind of necessary, right? So let's go to generation number 2 here. And you guys probably, if you've been in the industry a while, you probably use these. These would be the L3X. So we had the 5331, the 50, and guys, chat, if I'm making any mistakes, let me know. I'm just doing this on the fly here. It's a live stream. 5332 and 5335. Okay, so these were known as the L31, the L32, and the L35. So the L31 has serial only. Painful. It was slow to download, just like with the L20 and 30. I remember somebody picking one up to save money, and they were, we were there at the facility late, and they were just kicking themselves every time they wanted to do a download. It was like, ugh. But in any case, the L32 and L35 came in E and C versions. So Ethernet or control net. We did pick up one of each. I think they're both L35s, if I remember correctly. So we're going to cover, I think we didn't have all of these when we did the last course. In the new course, we'll cover these in gory detail. But yeah, so, this was great because, and the people who had the L32 and L35Es, they're probably happier today than the people who got the control net. But control net was, it was doing really well at the time, and Ethernet was kind of the new thing. And, people felt comfortable with just some BNCs connected together on coax and go. Although people always would try to crimp their own, and man, most people were not very good at that. That is a skill. Just because you have experience in other things did not make you good at crimping coax. But in any case, so that's what I would consider generation 2. Substantially different, right? Substantially different in many, many ways, including the circuit boards, the look, the feel. It was like twice as wide. They all came with 2 ports on them. The other ones, you could get 2 ports, but they were both serial. You had ControlNet, you had Ethernet, just there's so much these things could do. And they all supported compact flash, which the first generation, in my opinion, that didn't have a card slot, as we already talked about. So let's talk about generation 3. Now, some of you may say, well, what about the L20E? Now, when I go back and think about the L20E, I put it into this generation 2. I know it's kind of different. 5323, I believe. There was a couple different models of it, so L23. It was a shoebox controller. I think it would have done great in the marketplace, except to keep the price down, they didn't put in the compact flash slot. And you know what? Here's the thing, right? If you're building a product for an OEM, it needs to have external memory. You're going to have somebody, you're going to ship something across the world, and they're going to be like, oh, we need a program change. You don't want to ship a whole unit. I remember one customer actually got Rockwell the concession a whole unit so they could just ship the whole unit. Because what else do? You buy them a copy of the software. We all know how much that is, right? So in any case, and then, all right. So you could buy the service edition, which I hear is back, but you have to get it through some secret back door. It's not on the website. But in any case, a lot of people are just not at least back then, we're not computer savvy. So it would be easier to ship a whole PLC than try to walk them through, using a computer if they don't have any computer skills. That's less of a problem today, although I still meet a lot of boomers who, they're experts on their cell phone, but they can't touch a PC. And it's like, guys, you've had 50 years to learn. When are you going to expand your horizons a little bit? But I digress. I'm not picking on everybody. Just the people who didn't want to learn PCs, being a PC guy myself. So in any case, let's go to the next generation. What do you guys think that is? Well, in my opinion, I think it's the L43 and L45, right? 1768. I mean, that is so different. It's a whole different bus, right? Yeah, it kind of supported the same software versions, but really it's totally different. And in my opinion, right? So what were those? The 5343 and 5345. And howdy, Anthony. Good to see you. And so these are the L43 and L45. We were able to pick up some of those. So those are going into the new course. Much different. The advantage there is you could choose either 2 Ethernet cards or an Ethernet and ControlNet card, or maybe 2 Ethernet cards and 2 servo cards. Everybody wanted to be able to do 4 network cards. No, you get 2. Even though you could have 4 slots on the left-hand side of the controller with the L45, powers of B said, no, only 2 network cards for you. Come back 1 year. All right, so I digress. So that's generation 3, in my opinion. Generation 4, what would that be? Well, I think this one's pretty obvious. The 5370 family. So we get the 5371. Whoa, that's not a 1. See what I mean about this keyboard? That's still not a 1. 5372 and 5373. You may hear doors close and open as I'm streaming here. And these are affectionately known as the L1, L2, and L3. Yep, this is live TV. And so we call these guys the L3X. Okay, we call, whoops, that's not what I see again. I missed my control. All right, there we go. These we call the L4X. Okay, so if you're looking not to confuse people, you stay with this nomenclature. Maybe I'll put this at the end like the other one. Yep. So except for the L23, of course. Okay, I'm gonna get past the formatting here. And so if you hear somebody say L3X or L2X, these are the generations, right? You can make up whatever names you want, but this is what we said in industry, okay? So this is what the Rockwell guys were selling. That's what we were saying. That's what tech support was saying. And I remember a lot of promotional stuff on these guys, L1, 2, and 3, just when they all released at the same time. When does that ever happen? And it was great because one used point IO, one was kind of like the L23 and used the compact IO, and then the L3 was a lot like the L30, the L3X series, but just, had USB built in, it had SD instead of compact flash, and on and on and on. Great. So that's what I consider Gen 4. And then Generation 5, of course, I think you guys all know what this is. This would be the 5380 series, okay? And those, I don't know if anybody has a number for that. I call them the 30Xs because they all start with 3 something. I probably should just do 3XX because there's like 316s or something. I kind of lost track of that. We do have one. There was this period of time when Rockwell was selling a experience kit, something like that. We covered it on the show years ago, maybe 10 years ago. We've been doing this for a while. But in any case, since 2007 on YouTube. But in any case, yeah, so we'll just call it the L3XX, but 5380, that's what they prefer to use. I understand L3XX, put another X in there and you might get in trouble. In any case, so that's again my opinion. You guys agree, disagree? Let me know. Here's the final one we're going to do is panel views. And now with the panel views, right? Okay, with the panel views, 3 generations of panel views? No, I can't figure. So everybody's entitled to your own opinion. This is mine. There are many panel views. Okay, let's start with generation 1. All right, you old timers, you probably remember that Rockwell's very first HMI. I mean, back then, what were we selling? We were selling, I can't even remember. It was so long ago. Panel mates. We were doing panel mates. I never actually touched one, but they had one on the shelf. I had to count every inventory time. I know I got in trouble. One year we had so much dead inventory. One year I just photocopied the dead inventory from last year because I went down the aisle. I'm like, none of the dust had moved. It was like an inch thick. And boy, did I get in trouble. But it worked. They got rid of all that dead inventory that year. So in any case, I love that story. I was I was not the best employee that day, but it had had the right outcome. In any case, all right, back to panel views. Okay, so the very original panel view was called panel view. There was no other numbers. There was just one line. They were all 12-inch CRTs, and that was it. There was actually 4 different ones, 2 with keypads, and then you had the choice between like monochrome or kind of like an orange chrome and color. And I liked them. They were cool. They programmed in the old panel builder, the very first one for DOS, right? And yeah, I'll go. I won't go into the Windows. Sorry. But anyway, so you get the original panel view. Now, because they had so many more generations of panel view come out, they ended up renaming this the Panel View 1200. Okay, it only came in 12 inches, so CRT. So now this is back when they measured CRTs, including the bezel. Not like we do today with our flat panels where we actually measured the screen. We used to measure, so companies would make really big bezels around their CRT. So they could say, this is a 19-inch, but there's like a 3-inch. No, it never got that bad. But in any case, all right, so let's go. Let's keep moving here. Second generation. Why did I type 1? Okay, second generation. What do we have? Well, this is a little confusing. I have to say they almost came out at the same time. So we're going to list them at the same time. Let me know if you think I'm wrong, but we had the panel view enhanced, okay? Originally came out of the 1400. But we also had at the same time a product I was excited about because we weren't selling a lot of panel view 1200s or 1400Es because they were so expensive, big, heavy, took up like your home enclosure because, you know, you couldn't put it in the door because the door would like bend. I'm joking. It wasn't that bad. And then we had the panel view standard. And if you remember, these originally launched as the 900 and the 550. 550 was a keypad. 900 came, I believe it came in keypad and touchscreen only. The 900 had this beautiful gas plasma display. They used to have it when you were waiting to take the Terminator ride down in Disney in Orlando. Not that I would go there today, but back in the day, you know, they had this gas plasma panel view 900. They were so bright. The orange was so bright. So then again, then the 550, originally keypad only, and that had an LCD. It had a really hot light bulb behind. It caused all kinds of troubles. I did show how to replace the light bulb, but apparently the light bulb I used back in that video a few years ago is not available anymore. I'm just looking at the chat. We have Anthony. Oh, can't find the parts. F buttons, yep. Hook up to the PLC2 via remote I/O, absolutely. So remote I/O and Data Highway Plus were the options. Data Highway Plus was always better, always better. But on a PLC2, you don't really have Data Highway Plus, did you? So you did remote I/O. Remote IO is not that bad, right? But man, you got to teach somebody rack group slot first. Like I'm going to do. You can actually pre-order my PLC 5 course. I know. It's the pre-order's been out for a year. Go ahead, throw tomatoes at me, but I will start working on it next month in June. Well, it's still technically April, right? So in June I start working on it. You'll see the whole lab set up and everything. But in any case, and that's part of the second look. So I got to unbox everything after the move. So I'm going to start going through some of that stuff and unboxing it, and we'll just put it under the camera before I film lessons on it. But in any case, yeah, so I remember Brian and I teaching a course on this back in Providence. Man, those were the days. I actually designed something called Providence Brewing, because I worked in Providence at the time, back on Niantic Street, across from the old it wasn't there, the brewery that wasn't there anymore. It was just a pile of rubble. Narragansett Brewery, I think. But in any case, good times, good times. These were great because they were lower cost. There was so much lower cost. And then they came out with the 900, those gas plasmas. The OEM stopped making them, so they ended up coming up with 1000 to 10-inch, the grayscale in color, 10.1 inch or 10.4 inch TFT, active matrix TFT. I remember we used to always say, don't get the dual scan, get the active matrix. And then, oh, and this was funny too. I remember being at this, they had the 600 come out, then they had the 500 touch, 550 touch only. And did they ever go bigger than 10? I'm not in my memory saying no. But I remember being at Automation University. Again, I think this was in Orlando. Rockwell's, was it Automation University? And it was like a really spread out hotel, like you'd find out there. And it was a good time, lots of learning happening. But they announced, we were in one of these big ballrooms, and they announced, I don't know if it was Mark Hobbs or who it was, but man, he was not a popular guy that day, because the product manager announced that they were releasing a PanelView E 1200 and 1000. And we were just like, what? See, I used to have hair back then. Now it's all gone. I ripped it all out, right? No, I'm just kidding. Because we were like, you're going to confuse so many people with the PanelView 1200 and the PanelView standard 1000. And they're like, oh yeah, that's what we're going to do. So, all right, great. And in the end, it worked out okay. I mean, we were a bunch of little sissies, but so these are two different, I kind of consider them generation 2, kind of like an i5, i7. Not really, but they came out at the same time. So, and yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Should they be different generations? They came out at the same time. I'm like, how can they be different generations? Or they came out at the same time, right? A boomer and a Gen X, they're not the same generation, because they came out at different times. Bad analogy, I got it. Okay, and then one of my favorite products of all time, the PanelView Plus. Matter of fact, we're almost done with our PanelView Plus ebook. We took I think we had 170 articles on the PanelView Plus, and we took as many as that made sense and put them into an ebook. And I'll let you know when that's out. It's very close to being out. Man, I like the PanelView Plus because, well, before the PanelView Plus, so, being a big RSV32 user, beta user of RSV32, intelligent view user, reluctant supporter of control view, because I didn't know anything about it. Here, you're supporting this. But in any case, yeah, so when Rockwell and ICOM, the new company, RSI, Rockwell Software Incorporated, I guess, RSI, decided to develop a product, RSV32 was control view for Windows that had already been developed, so ICOM came on board, and they ran with that for a while, but they wanted to do a new panel view. It was time. It was time to replace the old legacy panel views, right? And with something cooler and newer and with more features. And so they came out with something called RSView Studio, right? And they really latched on to that word, right? But RSView Studio, they had Machine Edition and Site Edition. And Site Edition really kind of just been Site Edition ever since then, right? And we teach a course on that over at the Automation School. I do. And then Machine Edition originally started at 6182 CE Industrial Computers. I had a few end users pick these up, and I taught them how to use it. And this is, a lot of people don't know this. We do cover it in our PanelView Plus course. But these use RSView. Yes, it's RSView Machine Edition. Don't try to correct me. RSView Machine Edition version version 1 through version 2, and very, very cool. And I have great memories about that. The thing is, these CE industrial computers were expensive because they're industrial computers. They were just like any high-end industrial computer. They were full of ports. You could do anything you want in the world. And this is back when RSView Machine Edition could actually, you could actually configure. You didn't need RS Links Enterprise. That's what it was called at the time. You could still use RS Links Classic. I thought that was so cool. You could pick. So they were putting all the new drivers into RS Links Enterprise, but you could still, what it would do, and Kepware too, and it would just go and say, okay, in your project, you're referencing this driver set up in RS Links Classic. So it would just go grab that and put it down on the RSV Machine Edition. And I'm trying to think if the original PanelView Plus 3.0 could do that too. And I kind of remember that you could. It's kind of like a bridge edition, you know? So very cool. A lot of people don't know about that unless you were around at the time. Like Anthony was around there. He's working with PLC2s. So RSView Machine Edition 3.0 to 5.1. Okay. So that's what I'm calling third generation. Now, here's the hard one. Okay. Do we call the PanelView Plus 6 version, generation 3 or generation 4? Now, I'm going to go with generation 3. I'm going to tell you why. So all they did is update the motherboard that went in the back of the displays, okay? We call it the logic board. I believe that's what we call it, logic board. Right, going all the way back to Rockwell's first PLC, the PDQ2, which I wrote about on the blog. They call these things logic boards. Great name. I see a lot of other companies calling theirs logic boards too. It makes sense. So yeah, so here's why I'm saying that's still generation 3. Because, it uses the same screens. Yes, it's an updated motherboard. Yes, I think they went to SD cards with that one. But all we lost from the communication side was the distributed I/O networks. We still had ControlNet unscheduled, so peer-to-peer, but we lost DeviceNet, and I actually know a lot about DeviceNet, but DeviceNet and Remote I/O. And the reason I get so happy about losing those, they were not that they didn't work; they worked great. The problem was trying to teach people how to use them. They were kind of above and beyond. It was like difficult. It was like rack root slot back in the old Remote I/O days. It was just time intensive to transfer that knowledge to people. And so I think they kind of did that. I think they could have supported it, but they just didn't want to because of support costs, right? It's just, I spent a lot of time in the field. I wrote a lot of articles for customers, probably hundreds of emails trying to teach them how to do it. So I was not upset when they got rid of them. Still supported Data Highway Plus, Data Highway 45, ControlNet unscheduled. So I'm kind of thinking same displays. So, kind of like with the, when we talked about the Series A, Series B of the L60, I'm kind of like, I'm going to put this in the same generation because it was just an updated motherboard, just kind of like the L60. L6X was an updated, the Series B was updated kind of internal motherboard. But in any case, you guys could definitely argue with me on that. I believe, now again, just going from memory here, it could still, the PV plus 6 could still run the old runtimes. But, if you wanted to create a new project for it, you had to do it in, I believe, version 6 and greater. Okay. So type, I told you to type. So, but it could still, I met so many people who didn't realize this. If you had a runtime that was Data Highway Plus or Ethernet, you could just put that MER in on your PV plus 6 and keep on going. Now, if it was Remote I/O or DeviceNet or Schedule ControlNet, no, because that unit didn't support it. A lot of people don't know that. I don't know why, because it was very, very, very clear. Anyways, to me, anyways. So generation 4, I'm going to call the PV plus 7. I'm going to call this generation 4. And even though I believe it is also 6 plus of Factory Talk View Machine Edition now, it doesn't use any of the old displays. It doesn't use any of the old communication cards. Yeah, it's a lot different. And the Series B of this is a lot different too. We tried to get a sample. We're just going to get one out of them. But apparently it uses Windows 10, and it doesn't have all the same features of the original PanelView Plus 7 and blah, blah, blah. So in any case, yeah, so I'm considering that a different generation because even though even though it still supports the same software, it's kind of, to me, it's just totally different hardware, right? It's not just a plug-in logic board. It's like the whole thing's been redesigned. There's no spare parts between the two, right? So that's my opinion. You guys can argue with me. So what would generation 5 be? Well, you know what I'm forgetting, and I don't know where these should go, but we had the panel view component. Oh, gee whiz. Component. All right, great. Okay, this programmed in CCW. This was a good, very inexpensive unit, but it was just underpowered. The processor in it was just too slow. We tried to explain it to the product manager, but they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it is what it is." And it didn't have a very long life. We didn't sell many of them at all, but they know best. There's another one in here too, which I'm going to still consider generation 3, but this is like, I don't know, B and C, because they came out at the same time, but they were very different. Okay. I don't know, guys. What do you think? The panel view 800. So pretty much the same thing as the component, but a good processor in it, right? Totally looked different. Yeah, pretty much, 10-inch, 6-inch, 4-inch, but it really ran differently. So it's hard. Do we make that a different? I don't know. But it was much better than component. I would actually recommend it to a very, very inexpensive HMI if you're going to stay with panel view. But I don't know. I'm kind of like these two coming out side by side. Now these different generations are just different products. They all have the panel view name on them. Okay, so generation 5, again, you can have your own opinion. I think the generation 5 is the PV5000 series, right? So we had I think the 5500 came out first. That was replaced with the 5510 and the 5310. And we did have them on the podcast, the product manager, a few years ago, and to talk about the products. And I haven't kept track of it. It's Logix only, Ethernet only. It's Logix only, Ethernet only. It's a very, very small market. I do believe the PanelView Plus 7 was Ethernet only as well. So you're really limiting your market. I see, we're filming a course right now on the brand new Unified Comfort and Unified Basic panels. And the Unified Comfort panel has RS-485, RS-232 ports, so you can talk to other devices. So yeah, I like that legacy support. I really do. So that would be generation 5, not generation 3. That's my opinion. We do have, we'll call it generation X. We have the FactorTalk Optics panel. And yes, I did stop reaching out to them. I felt like I was being bothersome because after, 4 or 5 emails, like, yeah, we want to get you on the show. It's just like, all right, whatever. So they're nice people. I'm not saying they're not nice people. It's just maybe my emails are going to spam. Who knows? Life moves on. I got plenty to do with the other vendors. But in any case, so that is not a panel view. So that's why it's not part of these generations. So that is my thoughts on the generations of PACs and panel views from Rockwell. Substantially different from one of my bestest friends in the world. But, that's what opinions are for. Now, what I did do over here at the Automation Blog community, just click on this community. This is something I knew I added over the weekend. So this is what I did. What I just typed out, I kind of put this all up there. And now there's no charge to join this. You can come up here and you can just put your own opinions. I don't tell my friend I stole his picture. But in any case, yeah, let me know what you think. Am I on board? Am I wrong? I don't know. But I thought it'd be fun to talk about in a second look. And I haven't been posting a lot up here. And but it's kind of like it's like our own little Facebook, so it's just private to us, and it didn't cost anything. So I'm like, I'm going to add this so people can talk to me. You can see notifications and different things on there. So in any case, let me know up there if you want. If you want to talk about this. Also, we do have some member-only content that are coming out. Second Looks is public. We're just doing this free for our audience. Although we're a company, we do have to make a profit. I think, well, I won't go into that. But in any case, so if you want to get the automation morning show, which takes me a long time to put together every morning, that does require a $9.99 a month membership. As you can also be a member on Locals and on YouTube. But I did want to mention that we also are trying to crank out some more ebooks so you can grab our content. And if you go to the automationblog.com/tab, right, that's where you can see tab for the automation blog. That's kind of our internal name for the site. That's where you can see the existing ebooks we have, and you can see our video collections, both on USB and on digital. And anytime you pick up any of these, you're helping us out. You're helping us cover our costs, the server costs. We want to keep the automation blog, the site, and over 1,800 articles and videos you'll find in the guides. Want to always keep that free for everybody. But we need more revenue. We have an office. We have people working for us. So you only can drain your savings account to some point where you can't drain it anymore. So that's why we're promoting that stuff. So I hope you guys will support us. And if you don't, no worries. We love giving stuff to people. So in any case, I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found that fun. I'm just going to the chat. Sorry for pausing there. Oh, so Anthony's saying he's having a lot of luck with Seymour. I've tried to get them on too. So they actually sent me some samples, but I haven't been able to get them on. But yeah, I mean, why not use the Seymours? Why use what you like? We've recently had a conversation with Maple Systems. I've always heard good things about them. I mean, we work with Siemens and Schneider and Red Lion and Metla Toledo. We have a lot of sponsored relationships out there, and we're fans of automation. You pick what it's like being a sports car fan. You could like I drive a Dodge Charger. Maybe you like BMW. Maybe you like Audi. Maybe you like Corvettes. Yeah, I'm just a fan of sports cars, or automation in this case. So with that, let's see here. I think we'll go back to this view to end the show. I hope you guys had fun. I had a lot of fun making the show. Now I got to go back to work, but I want to wish you all an awesome day. Stay frosty. No matter what happens, that's not what I wanted to say. That's aliens. No matter what happens, stay courageous and stay fearless, my friends. And until hopefully tomorrow at lunch, maybe a little bit earlier than today. Until next time, my friends, peace.